What's up, guys? Wes Mitchell, Gamecock Central YouTube, of course, GamecockCentral.com. Today, continuing our look at some of South Carolina's top recruiting targets, and today we're going to talk about Greer High School wide receiver Jaleel Skinner, class of 2022, one of several prospects in the Palmetto State for the class of 2022 who already have an offer from the Gamecocks, and Skinner was one of the first. He actually, if you want to look at this class and the guys that are starting to get a lot of interest and have accumulated big offer lists. Skinner's one of the guys that's been on the radar really about as long as anybody. South Carolina offered him when he was just a freshman in high school, and a kid that has seen that offer list grow into the double digits since then. So today we're going to, of course, as we always do, we're going to look at his highlights, and we're going to talk a bit about what we see from Jaleel Skinner on film. Of course, here is the profile there on Rivals.com, 6'5", 200 pounds, again, from Greer High School. He is actually the only rising junior who is already ranked as a four-star prospect by Rivals at this time. Now, there are several other guys that I think are very easily going to end up being four-star guys. But right now, he's the only guy who's already sort of been christened with that four-star ranking. And there you see the impressive offer list. Schools like Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, LSU, Oregon, Penn State, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia Tech, VT always very active in the state of South Carolina, Wake Forest involved as well. So you see like I said, very impressive big offer list already for the Greer High School standout. All right, so let's get to the film. You see there, most places I think list Jaleel Skinner as a receiver. Here you see receiver, tight end, DB. And, I think that actually raises a interesting question about his upside as a prospect that we're going to get to in a second. But these are highlights from last year. Of course, he was just a sophomore. And the first thing you're going to see is and I've seen him in camp before. The thing you notice about Jaleel is, and I'm sure that coaches, the first thing they notice as well, is that this is just a tall, long-armed, a huge catch radius kid. I mean, some guys you see listed at 6'5", and then you meet them in person and they're 6'2 and a half, 6'3". Seeing Jaleel in person, he seems to be every bit of 6'5". A kid that I think is going to be able to continue to gain strength. He's a bit of a long strider, and especially in the high school game, is able to get open down the field and make some plays. And as we're going to see here, actually lines up at some tight end, at some defensive back. And I think, the big question with Jaleel is going to be, does he stay and they actually at Greer use him all over the place. They use him at tight end, even line him up as a bit of an H-back at times, and then also spread him out wide and use him to stretch the field at receiver. But, what does he grow into? I think you look at the frame right now, in some ways, reminds me, if you want a South Carolina guy, just remember a guy like Jared Cook. He was 6'5", probably 200 pounds at this stage in his high school career, and then is able to grow into, I think Jared's listed at like 6'5", 248 now in the NFL. So when guys this young are already that big, it is a question of where are they going to line up the most. And I think with Skinner right now, certainly he is a receiver. He's a four-star guy on Rivals.com, but, like I said, looking at the way that Greer uses him, playing some tight end, moving him around, I think certainly, moving him around and lining him up on the line is something that, you will probably see whichever college he chooses do some of that as well. But you see him out here playing in space. You see the long arms, a kid that helps Greer in a number of ways. But I think the big thing here for him is just the upside, continuing to get better, continue to hone those route running skills and stuff like that. But a long strider, he's got some balance to him when you get the ball in his hands. He's got some toughness, some ability to use that frame to break tackles as well. And, I think that's what you see on the film here. A lot of what he does, at least in the highlights we've seen so far, is more go route, slant, receiver screen game, and, sort of getting the ball out there quick. But especially at the high school level, is a matchup nightmare. Here you see these smaller DBs just cannot get him to the turf. And you like the athleticism for a guy that is that size. You see him lined up at tight end a little bit, not scared to stick his nose in there and block, which is something you don't, especially when a kid is maybe a receiver playing tight end as he is right now. You don't always see that. And I think you like to see the toughness there as someone who will help in the blocking game, both even in pass pro a little bit, but certainly in the running game. So that's Jaleel Skinner, a national recruit in the state of South Carolina, currently the #1 prospect in the state of South Carolina according to Rivals. I think there's going to be some really sharp competition. Good adjustment to the ball here to come back to it, but some really, I would say, tough competition for that spot. You have, of course, Skinner in the running, Jalen Sneed, the linebacker down at Hilton Head, Jaden Lucas, who is, of course, a really, really talented cornerback there at Malden High. And, I would look at Adam Randall, Myrtle Beach receiver, who I think is right in there with Jaleel in the conversation with top receiver in the state. So, you have Colin Sadler. This guy has 27 offers now. So I think you look around the state in the class of 2022, there is some talent. There's some guys that I think will continue to emerge, but so far looks like a very strong class in the Palmetto State for 22. And the guy who's right up there at the top and one to watch in that conversation is, of course, right here, Greer's Jaleel Skinner. So that's going to do it for this video. We'll certainly keep dropping videos here on the Gamecock Central YouTube. And, of course, please subscribe and check us out on GamecockCentral.com as well.